That laser can do a perfect square. That little tiny roundings, you're not going to pick up more than 5 feet away. And I look at that and I said, you know what? That scares me a little bit. It actually scares me that it might be too good and it's going to create problems in the manufacturing world. Good morning, everybody. How we doing on this beautiful Thursday? I tell you what, I feel really bad for the rest of the world because I'm here in sunny San Diego. It was 84 degrees yesterday. Life was good. We swam in the pool all day and hung out. I got a little burnt. Who can say that on February 1st? You know, Punxsutawney Phil came out yesterday, and turns out we got 6 more weeks of winter. It's crazy. And I'm sitting here in sunny San Diego. So if you guys are shoveling snow, I feel bad for you. But at the same time, we do live in California. You know all the hell that happens in this state. So kind of a pass, you know, same. All right, we are talking about world struggles and the business growth, operational streamlining, everything that goes on in running a business. There's so many details. I met this gentleman a couple weeks ago. We hit it off right off the bat. I asked him to be on the podcast. I'm excited to have him here. So Wade, how are you doing today?
Morning, Aaron. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, man, excited to hear you. You have very unique stories, and we're definitely going to dive into all of them here today. First things first, I mean, being a mechanical engineer, got your bachelor's degree, you look at all these different industries, you really love to pick things apart, exactly how they're built, why they're built. I mean, that's how your brain's wired. How'd you come across the signage industry of all places?
Great question. And that's kind of what led to where we are right now. I intentionally knew, kind of coming out of college, someday I wanted to run my own business. I didn't know which business it would be. And so I recognized, though, that I needed to learn. I wanted to grow, learn from other industries, different size companies. And after building that career kind of in product development and also operations, I was looking for an industry that had a really nice blend of both. And I found it in the signage industry. And so I began a search to look for a company. It took me about 3 years. I looked at about a dozen different companies, and Valley City Sign stood out among all of them. And that's what led us to where we are today.
Now, you guys have done something that I've never seen before. Valley City Signs. You guys were actually an employee-owned company before you took it over. And you were just telling me right before we hopped on here that they were an employee-owned company for almost 20 years. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct.
So you're first, not going to lie, it's a first mover. So whenever I hear employee-owned sign companies, I cringe. I truly, in my heart, I cringe because I feel the owner did not do any employees any justice. They said, "Oh, I don't have a buyer. You guys buy it." And the employees, they're blessed their heart. They're doing the best they can with Rock On. But to be an owner, that's a special person. That's 1% of the world. It's a gnarly place. And if you're not ownership material, I don't wish this on you. It's like a death sentence because there's so many factors in moving around and being an owner. And they pulled it off. They're honestly the first time I've ever heard in the industry that the employee-owned sign company didn't fail after 3 to 5 years, but been around for 20 years. That's a testament to the company. I got to hand it to you on this one. What if you could look back at any of the things that you saw? How did they survive and how they do so well?
I think they just really had a nice, rich history to build upon, right? This company's been around for over 75 years. It started out as Valley City Sign Neon, right? And there was a lot of intentional decisions and leadership through that, all that experience that builds up as you are the first to industry on different innovation from like software to the sign comp extrusions that now, right? These things are industry wide and standards. So Valley City Sign really has this rich history of innovation and product knowledge. And the tenure of the team, I think, is what carried them through that ESOP period, with the leadership of Randy and the rest of the leadership team kind of carrying that torch forward, which brought it up to where we are today.
I'm impressed. Like I said, I'm super impressed that they will pull that off. A testament to the team for sure. So they, for whatever reasons, they decide to sell. Don't really want to get into that. But 2 years ago, you stepped in and you took over. What did that look like? Because I know there had to be some shock and awe moments. There had to be some, wow, okay, I'm in this. What does it look like? And you're digging through, all the old files. You're digging through processes. In your management style, do you hop right in with both feet, or do you kind of sit back for a couple months and just absorb it all?
A combination of both, right? My first step really was to get to know the team. I think a big part of business leadership is building trust. And that comes from getting to know each person on your team, understanding what's important to them, where are they at in their life, right, career. So that was really my first objective, was to listen, learn, absorb, and see what's made this company successful for the 75 years. And then through that kind of learning phase and that foundation, I really then looked to, okay, how do we move forward from here? And it was very clear that they were ready for the next chapter, right? Previous president had served the company for almost 40 years in different capacities. So congratulations to him on his retirement. Everybody's thinking, okay, what's the next future, right? What's the next generation? And so I was happy to be a part of that and kind of formulate that strategy with the team, and then jump in with both feet, like you said, to, all right, let's dig in and let's execute this strategy now for the future.
I'm with you. And that's probably the best way to do it. You got to do a little bit of both. If you're too passive, you're not going to take control. But if you jump in too much, you're going to upset the apple cart. So I understand that. Now, you've been obviously 2 years in the signage world. You didn't grow up on it like I did, listening to sign stories at the breakfast table and the dinner table with pops. So early career lessons. What are some of the cool early career lessons that you were able to capitalize and reuse here in the signage world right off the bat, like in the first year that you were a part of it?
Okay. Well, I'd really say, I appreciate education, and my philosophy really is the truly educated never stop learning, right? So you go through school and you think you know it all, honestly, right? How many of us did graduate
100%.
from college going, all right, I got my degree, everybody, let me tell you what this is all about. And what you quickly realize is there's a lot you don't know about industry and business practices, and how do you apply those theories from academia into the real world. But I think academics really teaches us how to learn. And so that's the one key thing that I've carried through my career, even early on in my career, is learning how to learn and growing in that way in industry. So,
yep. And that's a good way to look at it. College, you can memorize everything, or you can learn a way to absorb it over time and over time. And if you can actually truly learn how to learn, that's the best way. That's the best thing you take from a college. I wholeheartedly believe in that. So you get into the sign company, you learn everybody, kind of got it dialed in. What was the first thing that you feel that was like your first major change for the better in that first year? Walk me through a story or an experience where you looked at it and said, you know what, I'm going to take my outside world knowledge, I'm going to apply it here, and I think it's going to be better.
Okay. Well, buying a business can be a straightforward or a very complex process. It really depends on a lot of factors, right? But once you get into it and you've done your research like I did, I knew I had a solid foundation to work from. We've got a phenomenal team here, right? Really deep history of innovation and product development. And whether you've been in the industry for 4 months or 40 years, I think it's that curiosity to always be learning and to be a good listener, and then to develop that strategy moving forward. And that was a big part of what I did. So I had my own ideas kind of coming in terms of, okay, how do we carry this forward? But it was also about listening to the team and understanding what things they saw that they could continue to grow in, things that they've been wanting to do. And then it was executing that strategy to carry that legacy forward, but also doing it in a renewed way, right?
Now, what is the type of bread and butter signage that your sign shop builds?
Valley City Sign does custom architectural signage all the way through interior signage, right? There's a different level of complexity to each of those types of signs, as we know from being in the industry, but we handle some pretty unique and big stuff. You'll be able to see some examples. We can flash some photos up on the screen of some of the projects that we've done, but just really unique things, from the LMCU ballpark sign that we did in the early 2000s. Then we redid it again when they changed their logo and their brand from Fifth Third. And then after that, LMCU, Lake Michigan Credit Union, took over the ballpark naming rights, and we redid the sign again. What's really interesting is we didn't change the substructure of that sign. So 20 years later, we're putting a new skin, new face on it, but it's the same structure that was there before, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
That's an engineering marvel.
And was the original structure steel, or did they? I mean, it's got to be steel. 35 years ago, was it aluminum or steel?
Yeah, no, steel, and then the outer frame and the structure on the top, aluminum. So combination.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now you guys don't have to deal with salt water like I do out here. Steel and salt water do not mix. It's brutal. And so we've had to adopt aluminum way earlier than most, even though, obviously not structurally sound, because there's no way I could touch a sign that we built 40 years ago. It would not end well. It would be corroded and dead. Okay. So how many employees do you guys have roughly?
We're about 50 people at this company.
So a little bit, definitely bigger than me. I'm only at 30 right now. And so you guys are pumping out quite a bit more signs than we are. And have you crossed the 50 threshold?
We're right at that threshold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you
tipping right over?
Do you plan on innovating and keeping it at 49 and keeping it below, or are you going to go ahead and push over that top 50 marker and just keep going?
No, we are focused on growth. So that means adding people, right? Wherever you need to from a capacity standpoint, key skills and talents that you come across, right? And we are looking to grow. I would say, even though we were below 50 and are headed above, we were already built for above. And at periods of our history, we were above that, right? Big conversion projects, certain years, we did staff up beyond 50. And so we've already really set up our business practices to be above 50 employees. So we're ready for that next step in that regard.
Okay, congrats. There's a lot of sign companies, including myself, that shy away from that big 50 number because of all the new regulations you got to be a part of. So the fact that you already staffed for that's an accomplishment. It really is. You got to see the aftermath of COVID in the sign world as you came in 2024, and everybody's kind of changing and doing different things. How did COVID affect your company? And are you still kind of making little micro changes or changes because of, the new way our society walks? I mean, from innovation to people wanting the hybrids, workplaces and all of that. How is Valley handling all that?
That was before my time from joining the company, but I was in the industry, in other industries during that time frame. So it really feels like a post, kind of COVID era where we're very all cognizant of that, but yet living with that being more of a memory, and, more commonplace as it is today. So I don't think that we're really significantly different in that regard. Regardless of COVID, and in some ways what some companies realized through COVID was that ability to be flexible, to be mobile, right? To be able to take your work home or take it out on the road, right? To visit the customer. And I think that is a part of our key strategy anyway, is to enhance our systems to make us more flexible, whether that's a benefit for the customer, being on site, working collaboratively with them, or being able to work remote, when needed. So I think we've already are working towards that enhancement in terms of how we work, and that will continue for us.
Gotcha.
As well.
In your demographic or in your area of the globe here, are you guys seeing more and more employees asking for that flex schedule and being able to work from home more than coming into the office?
It does happen, yes. Those requests come up. We're in Michigan, right? Even for the weather, there's days where it's pretty brutal out there as you were just enjoying your sunshine in California. So that is the occasion where it comes up. Besides that, it is really about accessibility. So just like what I was talking about of being in the field, working with the customers, our installers need some information. Having a flexible and mobile friendly platform, I think, is really helpful.
Yep. No, hey, you're preaching the choir with that one with SquareQuil. That's definitely what we're always aiming for, is being able to have anybody plug in from anywhere and handle that. So yeah, no, I would agree with that. I'm gonna switch gears on you here. I'm gonna talk about lean manufacturing. I'm gonna dive back into your, where your brain is, mechanical engineering. That's a very specific area in the world, and I have a lot of respect for it. Innovative wise, in the last 2 years, what has been your favorite piece of equipment that you guys have and or bought recently that's really been able to move that needle in your company?
Yeah, it's interesting because when you're in a custom design development world, it's about having equipment and processes that are flexible. And normally, if you pursue and or get a high-end piece of equipment that brings in a lot of automation, it tends to do few things really well, but it's few things really well, right? And we need to do a lot of things really well. So I think having more flexible equipment and a team that's cross-developed and cross-trained really are the keys to that success rather than any one specific piece of equipment. It's more about the versatility, I would say, of that equipment. From the trucks to a router, your brake press, all of those things, all of that equipment.
So it sounds like you guys had a lot of the equipment already on hand. It doesn't look like you've done any big purchases in the last year or so for new toys that have been out on the market.
No, but that is definitely something I'm researching. That's why I enjoyed going to ISA, looking at software like SquareQuil that's out there, and then also just what equipment is the latest and greatest on the market. People are constantly innovating. We want to be able to leverage that for our manufacturing processes. Faster lead times, cutting time, more capabilities all within one machine. So it's impressive what's out there.
Did you see that $1.2 million laser, that laser cutter, that in the far end of the table that was moving at Mach 5? That thing was scary. It was loading those sheets of aluminum, the 4x8 into it, cutting it, unloading them. They were making like little palm trees. Did you see that thing?
I have seen equipment like that both at ISA and before with my time at Metal Components. The metal fabrication industry is advancing. I know a lot of sign companies will use routers. I saw lasers on display like the one you talked about. It's impressive what they can cut and how fast they can cut that and the flexibility that it gives you.
I saw that and it was super funny because to me, I saw that and I was like, okay, we're going to save up and get this. This thing's amazing. And then all of a sudden I had a scare, and the scare is router bits automatically put a little rounded edge on everything based on the depth diameter of your bit. That laser can do a perfect square and really get that font perfect. That's kind of problematic for our industry. As you put the trim cap on, as you get the corners, that little tiny roundings, you're not going to pick up more than 5 feet away, but it's important for us. And I look at that and I said, you know what? That scares me a little bit. It actually scares me that it might be too good and it's going to create problems in the manufacturing world on that one. Just from your background in the metal world and whatnot, has any thought process like that ever come up as you're looking for this new equipment?
Oh, definitely. Right. I understood what it took for us to run our equipment, even the centralized gas delivery system that we had across multiple laser cutters. You really have to understand the infrastructure, the power requirements, even the technical ability to run that equipment, troubleshoot. You definitely need to make sure you're ready for that step up. But if and when you can do that, there's some exciting technologies that you can leverage and we can use in our industry.
You just hit on something really, really good. when you're ready, when you can troubleshoot, when you can run the program, when you can handle it. I think a lot of sign owners, they get it. They get the shiny object feeling. They buy it. They bring it in their shop, and they completely forget about all the aftermath that goes with it. The training, the downtime, the learning, the slowing down of your shop while you learn that new piece of equipment. I mean, that's you just touched on it, but man, that is such something that's such a pain point for all the owners when they get the new equipment in, and I think that's why some of the new equipment sits there for a little bit of time because they forgot about that critical step. So good for you on recognizing that. What fields? So you guys are vertically integrated pretty far. I got to see that video of your shop. You got a good sized shop. What areas are you guys looking to get into in the next couple of years? What vertical markets are you kind of eyeballing right now?
Okay. Well, our strategic plan really revolves around growth. And that means multiple things, right? It's growth of our team in terms of skill sets, but it's also systems, it's sales. And we've got some exciting things coming up. Actually, just this past January, we launched a new specialized division of our company called VCS Design, where we're going to focus on architects and that collaboration up front, which will really help us out to influence that design so that it is intended to be built, right? Because I think we've all had to work with that in the industry where it looks good, but how are you going to build it? And when you have all those functions within one company, from design through fabrication and installation, each of those cross-pollinate with each other, and you can all learn from each other in different ways, and that goes every direction. So we're really excited about that. We've got a great leader of that division, and we're launching that. So it's an example of innovation.
Congrats. That's huge. It's the first person talking to me about building the design team inside their sign shop. So that's big. I'm hope you much success on that one. That would be genius, because I can't tell you how many times they think we have faith in bubble gum and magically that sign's going to be erected and figured out. And we all know you can't build that sign. There's just no way. It's not going to happen.
Just want to take a moment to talk about Square Coil here. Square Coil has been powering the signage industry since 2011, and we're only growing bigger and better and stronger every single day. Some of the latest updates have just made my life a lot easier. I'm sure it's going to make your life a lot easier. So if you haven't checked us out, go ahead and get on our website, squarecoil.com. Take a look. And if you have an outdated key, an old software program that's going to be closing its doors this year, definitely take a look at us, because we can make that transition real simple for you. Take a look, squarecoil.com.
It's always back to the people. I hear that time and time again throughout you, me talking just now. It's always about the people. So obviously culture is huge. What type of culture are you trying to build? Because every culture, you got the fun and easy and don't take things seriously, very, very dialed in and very Disney-like. And if you're Mickey Mouse, you have your 60 sayings and that's all you're allowed to say. Very corporate culturized. There's many different paths that we feel as we think is the best, as each owner picks their one. What is most paramount in the culture for you?
I think it's having that engaged team. So we talked earlier about kind of the ESOP structure. That is one of the things that actually appealed to me coming in from the outside, was that sense of ownership and engagement is really another word of vested interest in the outcome. And so that was already part of the DNA of this company and something I was looking for, and also something I want to take to the next level. So we've designed and built our structures going forward to reinforce that exact same mindset in all the things that we do. So it's exciting for me. It's exciting for the team as we carry that forward. That is a big part. And one of the first things I told the team when I came in on day one is culture is my number one priority, because everything rises and falls with that.
It does indeed. And once you got the right culture, then it's going to showcase right into lean manufacturing. From your background, I guarantee you got lean manufacturing written down in stone. You probably know more than most of us. How did you really train the team to truly understand lean manufacturing at your level?
That is definitely a process, right? You've been in a number of sign industries or sign companies. I've toured around and visited other sign companies. I've listened to seasoned veterans talk about other sign companies. One of the key things I've heard is most often they're cluttered, right? You do a custom product, and so you save a piece of this here, and maybe I'll need that part later. People have toured our facility here, and one of the key things they keep telling me is, "Wow, your shop is really organized and clean." So great takeaway. I think the team does a great job with that, and it gives us the efficiency of the 5S principles. Helps us from a safety, quality, and efficiency standpoint. So that's a strategic help to us in terms of how we implement lean practices like 5S and other tools.
Now, how because you can't just tell lean manufacturing, you just can't tell somebody they magically do it. What type of cyclical cycles do you guys have running inside your shop? Where is it a Monday meet where you get the feedback from the guys on the floor? Is it a written document where they just send a memo? How are you having that back and forth communication so you're constantly evolving?
Okay. Great question. I think that's a part of what we do every day, and that's the way continuous improvement really should operate, right? And that's communication. As our plant managers working with people on the shop floor, as they're building, they run into a question. We'll pull somebody from a design team in. That communication is what brings the problem to the surface. We have a conversation, we get aligned with the salesperson, with the customer, and then we move forward. And the faster we can do that as a team, the quicker we'll resolve questions or any issues that come up, right? So that's a key part of how we move forward and also handle the variety that we do right in the custom signage world.
So is it I think you said daily, and I want to dive deep into this. Are you having daily meetings with your management team, weekly? What type of frequency are you guys having over there where it's not, you're stuck in meetings 24/7, but at the same time, you can actually have that communication back and forth?
Yeah, great question, because it's a combination, right? There's a time and a place for a meeting. Other key term I've used is a huddle, right? So it's a mini meeting, and you just get the right people together. Let's have a conversation. Let's resolve, a direction and move forward. So we do have a weekly leadership meeting, myself and my other key leaders from the team. So we'll do that weekly, and then we'll align on where we're at as a team, as a business, what are the next steps? And then each of those kind of managers will share that with their teams. In addition to that, communication needs to flow both directions, right? People get a chance to report out on what's going on in each of their areas as a result of, things that have changed, updates, and or even challenges that they're having. So that's how our communication flows to be able to organize and advance.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you got a couple of minnow managers set up in there. You have the huddles from their team, and then you have managers meetings. Less frequent, I'm going to say would be the nicest way to say it. Less frequent, figuring out what's going back and forth. So for me, we have our managers meetings Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. hands down, Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the middle managers bring knowledge back from the team that's out on the floor, saying what's working, what's not working, and everything in between. And so that's what's worked best for us. But honestly, there's so many different management styles out there. All hands on deck, 7 a.m. on Mondays, only once a week on Wednesdays. I've seen so many different ones that I was always curious. The frequency is basically at the end of the day. The takeaway I always like to hear is, what frequency have you found that really works the best?
Yeah, I think different frequencies work with different groups, right? So that's probably why you see the variety out there. Where we're at in our journey right now, it's more in the moment, right? When something comes up, let's get the right people together and advance. There's some additional things that we're looking to do in the future to build some more structure around that. Reporting wise, real-time metrics, things like that just help from a management standpoint and a reporting. But right now it's very grassroots and very organic.
That makes sense. Okay. I'm with you on that one. Tackle it as and kill it as it comes up. Analytics is big for us over here. Analytics is a word that everyone knows we should be chasing down. But there's a real difference between reports and analytics. Reports is we did 300,000 in sales. Analytics is we moved up 3% from the last month. We moved up 10% from last year to this year. And I think analytics is really what the true good owners are starting to really move the needle. They're past just the typical reports, are moving into analytics. What is your favorite analytic that you look at that really tells you how your company's doing?
I think it is really understanding from beginning to end, right? We'll call it contact to cash.
Okay.
And the lead time of that matters, right? So this is part of our strategy as a company. We've got the experience to bring to the customer to solve problems quickly, make that design, turn that around. Lead time is really key for us. So understanding your lead time all the way through your process, I think, is what's going to help both Valley City Sign and other companies manage their processes ultimately really well. Because what matters to the customer, how soon they get their product, right?
Yeah, no, it does. Okay, so you're definitely looking at lead times. That's a good one. I like that one. That's a really, really good one. Hey, if we're doing a design in 5 days, how do we get it down to 4.5 days? It's taking us 6 weeks to manufacture something. How do we get it down to 5 weeks? Just slowly start chewing at each piece. And so the lifetime value, not lifetime value, but the overall view of the client is definitely different. It's easier. I like that. That's a good one. It's a really, really good one. Getting blindsided over here by my little piece of plastic. It's taking me out. Let's see here. I know in the mornings the sun hits just right, and it'll put a good glare in here. I'll tell you what. Things you don't think about when you set up different rooms.
Lights up your studio.
It does. It lights it up. Well, I'm actually in my office right now because the studio, having people on and having a TV and all the mics and everything else, it creates glitches. So I've been in the office for the last couple of times. I got to get that fixed. So,
you got to have a strong internet connection.
Right? Seriously.
Yep.
You always wanted to own a company. So this is I love these questions. You've always wanted to be a business owner. You knew it from day one. You were a business owner, just didn't know what industry. I'm a person looking for inspiration to become a business owner. What advice from all these years could you give us?
I think proving yourself in different roles and capacities. That is something I look to do, right? Not only to prepare myself, but also to kind of battle test or field test whether you can. And I think having those different experiences of leading teams, tackling new challenges, even like we were talking about earlier, Aaron, moving industries, the ability to reestablish yourself, get the lay of the land, understand the industry, who are the players, build the relationships with your customers, your suppliers. You're going to need all of those chops to be able to run a business. And you've got to be a jack of all trades, from legal to HR to finance to engineering, design, operations, everything in between. So I think getting that breadth of exposure is really helpful for people.
Well said. Well said. They got to master a couple of industries to get a feel for, or master a couple of departments to get a real good feel for what that takes. It's almost like a litmus test. It's a BS meter. If you got to run a department and you have no idea what they're doing and you just got to take their word for it, you probably shouldn't be running that department because you don't know what it truly takes. Like, you got to have a little bit of experience, a little bit of immersion into it before you can really, really drive it and make it part of it. So great advice. Absolutely love it.
So true.
I'm going to leave you with this last question here. This is the last one I always like to hear. You got a lot of growth, a lot of positivity, a lot of great things going. If we were to flip over the crystal ball and see your company in 5 years, where we're going to see him at? What is it going to look like?
Okay. As we look to the future, I think you definitely need to understand where we've been, right? So, as I had talked about earlier, this company has been around for 75 years, been leading, innovating this industry with numerous examples, like we talked about Sign Comp and software development that later became Flexi. And we're not done innovating yet. I think innovation is what's going to continue to carry us forward. We're kind of a quiet giant right now because this company has not done a lot of marketing. We've just let our experience talk for itself, and that's led to repeat business and referrals, which is awesome. Literally, Aaron, like every week, I will get referrals and repeat business. You did our sign 20 years ago. Now we're looking to replace it or, fix something. We'll pull out the drawings. My team will find the part and they're like, oh, we'll just replace this piece right here. That is impressive that we've got that legacy to build on. As we then look to the future, we've done some really exciting projects like Detroit Tiger Stadium. We got a call 9 weeks before opening day for Major League Baseball, and they said, can you do a sign for us above left field as they were replacing their Jumbotron? If you take a look at those letters, that is an engineering marvel project. The letter C is 16 feet tall, weighs about 500 pounds, and that's just one of the letters. Having the ability to design with rigor, fabricate very extensively, and get that project done, and we delivered a week early. That's the type of strength that we're going to continue to leverage as we move forward and tackle big and challenging projects. And my team and I are excited to do that. So that's what I see for the future for Valley City Signs.
Awesome. The big projects are so much fun. They're so much fun. 16-foot channel letters, those are blast. And you don't get to do them every day. So they're unique, they're fun, they're exciting, like all the above. Whenever we get a big project like that, we're giddy. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it gives you a way to differentiate yourself, right? And it creates that story about what it took to put that together and deliver that, on time so that you make the deadline. Yeah. Opening day wasn't going to move for the Tigers.
No, that was a hard day. If there ever was a hard day, that was it. It doesn't get any worse than that. Wade, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show and sharing a little bit about Valley City Signs and, and pulling back the curtain of who you guys are at and where you guys are going. It's exciting. It's a fun journey. The signage industry is so much fun. It's just unique. Everything's a one-off. It's a unique thing. It's fun. You're definitely not going to get stuck in the mundane day-to-day operations. That's never going to happen in this industry. So it's very, very cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah, so true. Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate what you're doing with this podcast platform for our industry and beyond. We need this broadcast of what makes this industry engaging, challenging, fun, and rewarding all at the same time. So let's make a statement together.
I love it, my friend. Well, you have a great rest of your day, and I'm sure you're going to be talking quite a bit after this.
Thanks, Aaron.